roll call attendance, Janet
Here.
and Barry
Yep.
and June here. So this is a regular open monthly meeting of the Historical Commission on Wednesday, June 8th at 7 p.m. So we need to approve the minutes if possible for May 11th, May 13th, and May 25th. Are there any problems with the minutes?
Those are the three that you sent fairly recently, right? Resent.
No. No, these are ones that I wrote before I went to Ossipee on Thursday. So you would have received them maybe Monday, a week ago Monday.
Oh. I don't
We
know.
approved the last meeting we had, we approved the ones that you got before. We approved March 30th, April 6th, and April, no. Well, anyway, the three meetings before these three meetings were approved. These have not been approved yet.
I just read three, one of which was a.
Was it
Right.
one? Was it the one with Dan that we met with Dan?
No.
Well, that would be the 13th, May 13th. May 25th, we met with Margaret.
Oh, no.
May
I didn't
11th
look-
was, okay, those are the
I
last
haven't
three
looked at
meetings.
those. I haven't looked at those. I just had a thing that you had sent me. I guess that's what I looked at last was, and at least one of them was back in April. Oh, bummer. I don't know what I read. Or haven't.
Well, what I'll do is resend that to you and we'll get to it next time.
I guess so.
And Janet, did you see any problems with the
I
minutes?
did not see any problems.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to let them go as they are until we meet again. Let's see, where? Prior minutes, okay. There's a few financial forms that need to be filled out, and I talked briefly to Barry about them, and if I have questions, he's familiar with the forms, and we'll get those in. They have to be in before July 15th. They reflect the fact that we haven't spent some of our CPA money, and we have to justify why it hasn't been spent.
It's a regular year-end thing. June this year has even increasingly jumped on special articles that aren't spent yet, and asking people to explain them and so forth and so on. So I've written some for the cemetery, but it's the same thing with this. It's things that are in the process but not yet ready.
If we're able to submit the archival supply bill before the end of this month, if we submit the bill before the end of this month, would Edie get reimbursed even if she has to be reimbursed in July because of their time frame?
Yes,
Okay.
as long as what
As long-
happens is if we don't have the stuff by June 30th, we can encumber the money and then pay the bill after July 1st.
Okay.
As long as we've ordered the stuff and know what it's going to cost. We sent the order in, Edie called the order in last week, and we anticipate delivery of a lot of the stuff this week, which means we'll have a bill for a lot of it this week. And our total bill, June, it was over 700. And
That's right.
we intended to pay 600 of it with the town appropriation, and the remainder to ask the Historical Society to pick up the difference.
Okay. I do
So-
have that encumbrance form too, if it comes to that.
Yeah, if we have to do it, we'll
Yeah.
use that.
Okay.
I'm hoping that we'll spend the 600 on what comes this week.
Yeah, I'd like to see her reimbursed promptly and so that they'll process it.
Well, so she'll have the money before
That's-
she has to pay her credit card bill.
Yes, exactly. Right. Okay. So we need to get to the point with our mission and vision statements so that we're happy enough to submit them to Dan. They won't be perfect, I'm sure, but I think we need to have some satisfaction that we're getting out the information that we need and that he can work with the two statements that we come up with. I worked a little bit more on the mission statement. I don't really want to belabor it. I mean, we've got, the content is already there. I played around a little bit with wanting to say that after 200 years, we're continuing. And so my rewording is where's my, I don't want to take up a lot of time with this. Here we go. So we can leave it as it is to interpret the history of Berlin, its people and its institutions in a local history museum. In a historic setting that after 200 years will continue to be a part of our community life. So what I've added is the whole notion of continuity, because I don't want them to think that it ends in 1980. So that was my one little reshaping of it. I think we can, I'm willing to submit that, and we can submit our combined one that we already did with Margaret, if you want. Janet wants to explain some of the elements, the elements that she put into her mission and vision, her recent mission and vision sentences that she just sent to us, I think yesterday. So go ahead, Janet.
Yeah, I was just looking at what you've written and see, it's not showing the whole thing yet, I don't think.
No, it's not all there yet, but
In a historic setting that. So if I'm repeating something you've already written, June, don't be offended. I just can't see the whole thing. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Well, no, my only interest was that because I did spend quite a bit of time looking at samples online, a couple of things that appeared to me, which I think shows up in this, but I just want to make sure. Is that whole question, why does it matter what we want, what we are planning to do? Why does it matter? Why is it important? And how will it impact the people of the community? And I was thinking that last thing that you put in, historic setting that after 200 years will continue to be part of community life. To me, that kind of hits why does it matter? I don't know if it's people. I don't know if it addresses sort of the impact on the people. And maybe it doesn't need to do both of those things, but I think, for example, when I wrote up these two, at the end of I don't know which is mission and which is vision, and I don't even want to figure it out. They're so similar. Oh, they're so similar. You know, and my interpretation of what mission and vision is based on what I kept reading online was like the opposite of Barry's. It just flip-flopped the two. And I thought, you know, do we really care if we flip-flop them or not? They're so similar. But in any case, what I was going to say is that the one that I had written, you know, to open a historical museum where people will fully engage. And I think we've got the engagement in there somewhere, maybe, with a resourceful environment. I was trying to get in there, you know, that they can almost feel like they're living there in some parts of it, you know, learn about the past. And then this was the part I think about how it would impact people and carry with them new insights as they build the future. So the idea is, why is it important? Why does it matter? Because we want them to walk away with new insights into the past and how it impacts the future. And I don't know how important that is, but I was seeing that in a lot of the samples that I was reading. And I don't know if I'm being totally confusing, but
Read that same thing you just said again, please.
the whole thing or just the last part?
The part about engagement, what they walk away with, what they walk
Okay.
away with.
Okay, maybe I'll read the whole thing only because it's so short. It's only one sentence.
That's okay.
Yeah, to open a historical museum where people will fully engage with a resourceful environment to learn. That was where I was getting in all the research and everything without saying so. To learn about the past and to carry with them new insights as they build the future.
Same thing. Visitors will fully engage. Read from fully engage on.
Fully engage with a resourceful environment to learn about the past and carry with them new insights as they build the future. And that kind of dealt with how it will impact people, but also it brings the people into it also, but also I think it tells why we think it matters, you know.
And build new insights.
And, oh, I'm sorry, wait a minute. Build new insights. I'm sorry, carry with them new insights.
Okay.
As they build the future.
This will fully engage with a resourceful environment to learn about the past and carry with them new insights as they build the future. Okay. Yeah, this is the kind of concept that I wanted from you to put into this.
And a lot of that is in what June wrote too.
Yeah.
And if there's anything that might be added from, I mean, if we wanted to sort of merge the two of them, I don't know exactly how one would do that, except
I think we can let it be the way you wrote it, except I don't understand the word resourceful.
Yeah.
Is there?
What do you have? But you explain it a little bit in a little more detail. It's people, institutions.
Well, that's the
so maybe-
mission. We're working on the vision.
What if you put your first line in there in a historic setting? I like that.
Well, Janet, we're incorporating your last statement about visitors. We're incorporating that into the vision, not the mission.
Oh, which one are we looking at? Oh, this is the mission we're looking at. Yeah.
No, we're looking at the vision. And we've incorporated your sentence about engagement into the vision.
Oh, okay. See, I had that backwards again. So, okay. So mission. Oh, so the mission The one that I wrote, I'm sorry that I got that confused, was we strive to create a historic learning environment, which is what you've already got up there, right? And experiences that are authentic. And you certainly get in there that it's based on historic stuff, right?
Mhm.
People and institutions, that's in there. Wait a minute, where am I? Create experiences are authentic, supported by the town's significant research.
What
That
would
was-
that be? I mean, I don't
Well, that
understand.
was in the one, I mean, the mentioning the research and the collection was in the one that Barry wrote, for the mission statement Barry wrote, and
Yeah, well, I don't,
and
I
I
don't,
I thought that that was good, but I think maybe
Yeah.
that comes through in yours
think-
also.
yeah.
Hang on a sec, where am I? Significant research and a historical collection. But maybe we don't need to mention those two things. Maybe that's implied in what you've already got there.
Well,
Interpret history and its institutions and,
I think that's part of, I think we need to make those points that are in your mission statement in the vision, make sure it's in the vision. Because it's really elaborating on interpretation. And I guess we're really relying on that word interpret to collect our, the activity that will happen there. I guess that's,
history of Berlin. Its people and its institutions. Now this is what I'm reading mission now. Okay, so I'm sure I got this right. Institutions in a local history museum, in a historic setting. And what did you want to get in it, June? The research and collection?
no, I don't want to add anything to it actually, unless we've really missed the boat on some
Well,
important element.
I would just say, does it do that thing where it imply or suggest why this is important? Or does that go under the vision one?
No, I think
Well-
why it's important is there, and it is in the vision. I mean, we want to put it in the vision.
Yeah. And
Let's,
how about we'll continue. I'm sorry, Barry, go ahead.
let me talk a little bit about the, first of all, I just played here. June, after 200 years, will continue to be part of community life. Doesn't tell us how connected it's been in the past.
Okay, so we need to
So
modify.
I'm suggesting that maybe a historic setting that connects with the community over 200 years of history and into the future.
Okay,
Could you
How's
just
that?
change it to
I mean, just think
over?
about it. Just think
Could-
about it.
I wonder if you could just change the word after to over, that over 200 years continued to be a part of the community life.
well, I don't know, my sentence really assumes
That doesn't
knowledge.
include the 200 years that's already happened that it's connected in.
Well, over would mean starting with the beginning and all the way across.
in a historic setting that after that,
Over 200 years has continued to be
Over 200 years of history.
of
and
history, has continued to be a part of community life.
well, it's clumsy. But the thought, what Barry is saying has to be in there. I totally agree with that. Why don't we, that's wordsmithing. Why don't we
Yeah.
just let that go and know that
Yeah.
we've got to put that in
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. I don't actually find it that clumsy, but maybe it is clumsy. A historic setting that over 200 years has continued to be a part of community life. But if it doesn't feel right to you, June, I trust your instincts on that.
Well,
And
the thing that June's trying to say here is can't be just the past, it's got to include the future.
Yeah.
And the way she's got it written, it doesn't really include the past.
Yeah, right.
And
Well, you
so
know
I'm
what?
trying to come up with a way to have it include both the past and the
Yeah.
future.
Now the phrase that I used at the end of the mission statement, it may not fit with this at all, but I said something about, significant research, historical collection, and then I said, and designed, because I was talking about creating a learning environment. So I said, and designed to inspire thought and an understanding of the past. And again, that talks about the people and what we're trying to do, why it is important for us to do this for them.
Say that again, designed to,
And designed to inspire thought and an understanding. Am I going too fast?
no,
Of the past. And that sort of gets the past in there. I don't know if that's helpful or not.
well, yeah, in a different place, yes, it works, it's helpful. I'm thinking about how we can play with that in this section. The vision statement, I've written some stuff here, and it brings in some of the things you've just talked about, Janet. So run through this vision statement. With the Bullet House Museum will be a center for activities and engagement with the history of Berlin, its people and families, community organizations and churches, industrial activities, social life, architecture, and artistic pursuits. Exhibits utilizing items from the town collection will be used in conjunction with programs and interactive activities to engage visitors of all ages. The house itself interprets local history through its use as an inn and store at the turn of the 19th century, the blacksmith's house from 1830 to 51, the post office in the 1880s, the American Legion Hall after World War I, housing the town fire truck in the 1920s, and commercial activities in the early 20th century. It continues in the 21st century as the local museum. And this gets into what you are dealing with in your future, June. The house is used in conjunction with the adjacent historic 1870 town hall, which can host exhibits and programs requiring larger spaces. And this again gets into the campus setting. And maybe we want to say something more about that. I don't know. And then your statement, visitors will fully engage with the resourceful environment. We need to work on that a little.
Yeah, maybe a different
to
word.
learn about the past and carry with them new insights as they build the future. And that's exactly what we want there. Carry the new insights to build the future.
And see that last one that says designed to inspire, that was meant to go with the other one. It might
Yeah.
be sort of overdoing it a little bit because it's clear from all the stuff above it that it's designed to inspire thought and an understanding of the past.
Yeah, I think maybe those both say the same thing in a way.
Yeah.
I think maybe they do, but I think we do need to work on that. The resourceful environment is not quite it. We need a little bit more. I know that we want it to be an engaging environment, but we've used engage a lot already,
Yeah,
including in this sentence.
Yeah.
yeah.
Experience. Will experience a
Experience filled.
yeah. What that does, which is kind of neat, is it makes people who might not want the academic part of it so much, but say, "Ooh, experience filled." That sounds like we're
Yeah.
going to be able to do
More
something.
hands-on, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, there's no question but I just remember all the years ago with Katie Bacon, if there's one thing she hated, it was a dusty museum.
Yes.
And that's,
Yes.
everything you have is out on exhibit, and people expect everything they give to be out on exhibit. And after a while, there's too much there to look at and digest, and it just is almost worthless. If you have topical exhibits and you really tell a story of something well, then at another time you tell another story well. And over time, you get a lot of information out to people. But you need something changing or they'll never come back.
Yeah. It's quite a responsibility.
Oh, it is. It really is. And June and I were talking today, you know, one of the things we have to do, because of the fact that we'll have exhibits upstairs and it's not accessible, one of the things you do is you make a set of pictures of what's there and explanation of the exhibit and have it in a notebook or something downstairs. So a person in a wheelchair can look at that to see what's upstairs.
Right.
And those things are really important to do for access in that regard. But those become a resource that you have in the future. When somebody walks in and said, oh, well, gee, I wanted to learn about horses and carriages. Well, we had an exhibit on that 4 years ago. Let me get the book.
Right.
And you can show them things that you've got and things that you've told in terms of telling that kind of story in the past, you know? And clearly, from my point of view, you can't have everything out all the time anyway, or tell all the stories. So when you do a good job of an exhibit and a program, you need that recorded so that somebody can enjoy it. And sometimes it might even be a video they watch.
Well, that goes back to, I guess Janet made a suggestion about transcribing some program information a couple of meetings ago.
Yeah.
So that fits into what you had
Yeah.
recognized, Janet, before.
So
Is there anything missing in the vision?
I can't scroll it back. So I was wondering if we could just look at the vision statement again.
The mission
I
statement.
mean, the mission statement. Can you put it back on that or not? Because I was looking at the design to
Janet,
inspire thought and understanding. I think we were going to erase that part. weren't we?
okay, I was going to say, can I take that out?
Yeah, and then I don't think we need it at the top one. I mean, I don't think we
No, I think we're all right in the top one on that
on the
regard.
top one. Okay, this connects with the
So we just
into the
needs
future, yeah.
just needs that
Yeah.
wordsmithing so that we have
yeah.
past and future.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think the only thing that I am going to be curious to see what Dan says. I don't even know how much experience he's had with writing these, but probably he has, I would think.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was just wondering how long the vision statement is typically supposed to be, because I did quite a bit of poking around online, most of them are like 1 or 2 sentences. But you know, when people define what a vision statement is, it feels like it needs to be longer. So it'll be interesting to see what he says about that, whether this is more typical and what they're looking for, or if it's the shorter one that's more typical. But we got them. So if, you know, we can see what he says.
Is there any element that Margaret pointed out that we're missing in our vision statement?
Where does Margaret point that out?
She pointed out, she talked about, let's see, it was in her email to us.
May 27th.
Here it is. Yeah. In her email to us, she mentioned 5 elements. One was the history and the use of space.
Can you just tell me which email? Is this May 27th?
Could be.
Oh, okay.
I think it could be, it would be after the 25th. Maybe that same day, actually.
Okay.
Could be the 25th or the 6th. But the 5 elements are history, the use of space with other historic facilities, which Barry has included, location and setting. And that's something we might hammer a little bit more, because we want to say that the Board House is important, is an important player in the village, in the center village.
Right.
And I don't know if we've stressed that enough. the character and the impression, I'm not sure what she means by that, except when I wrote some objectives, I wanted to, for the vision, I wanted to talk about the historic fabric and how we wanted to preserve that, and that the modified portions of the house would be functional areas and would show and would tell the story of the adaptations, yeah, you know, the architectural modifications. So I don't know if that is what she means by impression.
Yeah, I don't know either. I think that, I don't know, I think we may have enough to cover in person here, especially with this stuff about all the uses over the years.
Okay, but okay, and the community interaction, I think we've covered that pretty well.
Yeah,
In which are you looking at the vision?
Yeah, I'm looking at the 5 elements that
No,
Margaret,
what I mean is, when you say I think we've covered it, you mean in the vision
in
statement?
the vision,
Yeah.
in the vision, yeah.
Well, maybe this is where we say, let's take this one to Dan. We put a lot of work into it and we've collaborated tonight.
I think that in the sentence, in the vision, that would be next to the last. The house is used in conjunction with the adjacent historic 1870 town hall, which can host exhibits and programs requiring larger spaces. I think we really need to talk about the village. We need to say something like, well, here's a sentence that I wrote. Take it or leave it, I guess. The Bullard House will take its place as an important contributing player in our center village. That's I think
I liked that one a lot. I liked that sentence.
The Bullard House will take its place in our historic center village center, however you want to say that, as an important contributing player. I don't know which phrase should come first.
I kind of missed the difference between the two because I was looking for something on my page here. What were the two choices again? When you say which should come first?
The Bullard House will take its place in our historic center village as an important contributing player.
Yeah.
Or you can have in our historic center village at the end of the sentence. And the part about being a player in the middle. I don't know which sounds better. But we have to decide that we want it first.
So want the sentence at all?
Yeah.
Oh, I like it. I like that sentence. I like that when you first wrote that.
Yeah. Barry is elaborating here.
Oh, he's elaborating. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, it was funny because I was writing up some of the questions that I thought maybe I was writing up things that we have to get done in 2022 in order to not save everything to the end, because I was telling June that I like to sort of have a timeline in the back of my head, or even a rough timeline about when we have to get things done. And so I wrote a whole series of questions here. I'll send this to you eventually. I didn't want to burden you with it before this meeting, but I wrote in, how to develop synergy between the Bullard House and other center village buildings where the Bullard House can play. I said, I wouldn't write this, by the way, in this vision, but it's almost exactly what you said. And that's probably where I got the idea. Can play the history card more strongly because of our vision and mission. So, it's kind of funny how it flip-flopped it. But I think that in addition to it it being an important player, I don't know that we need to say this, and I don't know how we would say it, but it almost is like the important player because it is totally devoted to history. Whereas all of these others, the history is an important part of what they're devoted to. But the Bullard House would be really
Yeah,
devoted. That would be its central purpose. And I don't know that there's a way of saying that without dissing the other buildings, but it might be kind of cool to try to think of a way to say that even more strongly than a important player. Or
why don't we read what Barry has here?
Oh,
Let's
okay.
see.
I think that,
the anchor. Yeah,
It
that's,
will, because it will be
Yeah.
an active place.
yeah. And that's kind of what I was thinking of, that very thing. It's more than just one of the important things. It will be the
Yeah.
anchor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to drag it down, but to hold it in place so that we can work from it.
In the center village. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
That's nice.
Now we can get rid of some other stuff here.
You know, the other nice thing is that they say, I saw repeatedly online, that you're not stuck in the mud with your vision statement or your mission statement, because you can change it whenever you want.
That's right.
Sure.
Or
Adjacent.
improve on it or whatever.
It's just the process is
other
painful.
Yeah, yeah. This wasn't too bad. We're still talking to each other.
Well, painful, you know, when you're playing with words.
Yes.
Tedious, I guess, is the.
Okay. The Bullard House would be the anchor of historical interpretation in the center village. Actually, the center village in the town, but we'll get it back. The adjacent historic 1870 town hall can host exhibits and programs requiring larger spaces. Other nearby historic buildings which can participate in this are the Hearst House and Powder House. All of these are important contributing elements in the historic center village. I'm going to take center village out of the first place and leave it at the end and put town up here.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Now, how do you feel about that paragraph?
Okay. Adjacent.
I have one thought, but want me to hold it till you've read through?
Maybe, maybe just say the Hearst House and Powder House. Well, they are.
Or you could say the historic Hearst House and Powder House, and then you can leave a little bit of that other phrase out if you want.
Well, they are nearby, and that's important.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think I'll leave, let's see,
Leave it
maybe
as it
leave
is.
it. Other nearby historic buildings.
You know, the one little spot to look at too when you're done with that spot. Are you done with that spot?
Well, what I tend to think is it should be the Hearst House and the Powder House, the nearby Hearst House and Powder House.
Yeah,
Yes.
In other words, I'd change the order and put them at the head of the sentence, and
that's right.
you know,
Yeah,
just wordsmith it a little bit
Yeah,
more, but
yeah. I
but
think
then all
also,
of them are important contributing elements in the historic center village. I think is that
that's good.
really pulls a lot of things together.
Yeah.
yeah, it's more efficient.
Yeah.
The
It-
thing I was looking at was, June, were you going to say something?
No, I'm just thinking about individual words.
Oh,
So
okay, well, let me do
it's-
a big idea first, and then you can do the
Okay,
individual words. The adjacent historic 1870 town hall can host exhibits and programs requiring larger spaces. I was wondering if we could not have it be something where people could say, well, then why do they really need to fix up this other building if they can have all these things in the larger one? I was maybe not host, but maybe
Can I-
support. I mean, even to say support the Bullard House in doing this.
well, can accommodate.
I guess the
We'd probably still be hosting them. We would be the host,
Yes, we would
the
be.
host of them.
We would host. Yeah,
But yes, could accommodate some of the bigger ones. So we're not saying they're going to run it, and why do we even need it, Bullard House? We're saying
no, and secondly, the whole piece of this in the first place is the town hall is too big for us to manage and try to run as a museum. It's too big.
yeah,
And the house is a more manageable size, and it makes more sense that way. And the town hall is available to other people's use.
yeah.
I mean, part
And
of the
it-
thing is the Bullet House is not going to be so much available for other functions, other uses, whereas the
Yeah.
town hall is constantly so. And that's its best use. And we move in and use it when we need to use it for something, for a
Yeah.
bigger space.
the town hall also creates some of its income, a little bit of
Yeah,
income that
oh,
helps.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I
Oh,
don't know
yeah.
if I don't know if we want to take that on as a charge. I think we,
Well, the answer is fortunately that horse already left the barn and we didn't get stuck with it.
yeah. That's right.
how
Yeah.
about something like the adjacent historic town hall can accommodate programs that support, we don't want to say that support the Bullard House, but that the Bullard House could support or something, I don't know.
Oh,
So
the big
the
thing
Bullard
is that,
House it's the Bullard House's program, but the town hall can accommodate it better or something, you know.
well,
How do you-
it's the things that take a bigger space. It's like our big clothing exhibits are a program that 100 people come to listen to.
So how about when a larger space is needed, the adjacent historic town hall can accommodate some of the historic programs or something like that? Historical.
Well, isn't that what the sentence there says?
Yes, it does now. You changed it.
And again, look back to the idea of historical interpretation that's in the first
Yeah,
sentence of that paragraph.
yeah. Historical interpretation. The banker. Yeah, yes, there you go. That's good. No, I'd forgotten that too. The Bullard
Yeah.
House will be the anchor of historical interpretation of the town. The adjacent historic town hall can accommodate what? Larger groups?
Larger programs.
Larger programs, yes. You could even say historical programs.
Yes. All right, the nearby historic Hearst House and Powder House can also be useful for interpretation. All of these are important contributors. Yeah, I think we've sort of got a paragraph there now.
Yeah. And that's the synergy that Dan was talking about.
Yes,
Yeah. Nice to get that in there.
Well,
I mean, I've thought ever since when we even came up with buying the Bullet House, I said, well, that really is good because the town hall is too big for us to occupy all the time and to take out of other people's use all the time. But the town hall is there when we need a bigger venue.
Yes. Yeah. But I do like that word anchor.
yeah, it gives us importance.
Yeah.
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 Well, we are important.
We are important. Well, I think it sounds good. I'm willing to just
Yeah.
be happy, and the only thing we need to do is to be satisfied about rewording the mission for past and future.
Let's go back and play with it.
You want to do it now? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
that one last line, you mean?
Yeah, we gotta show that it's both past and will, you know, there'll be continuity between the past and what's in the future.
Yeah.
Let's see, if we put the other statement below in place of those words, that connects with the community over 200 years of history and into the future.
Well, I don't like it. Connecting,
Let's see, to interpret this.
well, let's see, we could say connecting the community with 200 connecting the community with
Yeah. You want to have some time to play with it on your own, June?
well,
Or do you think we can find something here?
maybe just give it another couple of minutes. Connecting, let's see, connecting the community.
It's a historic setting that connects with the
Yeah.
community, with community life.
In a historic setting. I don't know, it sounds too much like 19 Carter. You know how they have that connections, creating connections. I never liked that.
Yeah, but we've already had the connections.
Yeah, in a historic setting.
So is it the past you want them to focus on?
Well,
Or
no,
into the
well,
future?
my revision, the whole point of my revision was to say that its history will continue because we'll be creating it.
Mm-hmm.
But in doing so, I left out the past. With that word after, the word after is a problem.
What word after? Where does it say that?
To interpret the history of people, local history museum.
Oh, up at the top there, yeah.
In a historic setting.
Now that one line underneath then was to substitute for the one you just X'd out?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. To
Connecting the community with over 200 years of history and into the future. Maybe not get rid of and. If you said in a historic setting, connecting the community with over 200 years of history. And I guess you do have to have the word and into the future. Well, let's just leave it that way.
Well,
I don't know, that connects with
kind of
community
get
life
in
doesn't,
there.
is too, I don't know, that seems clumsy to me, but.
That connects with community life over 200 years of history and into the future. It connects with it through the years of the history, and it connects in the future.
Well, you know what? You've got it there. You've got what we're trying to say there.
Yeah, it's there,
So
so
maybe
we'll let
rather
it
than,
go.
maybe if rather than wordsmithing it right now, each of us or one of us or whoever wants to do it could just try to redesign it, and we can just decide next time we get together which one we like the most.
Well, I think we need to leave it as it is,
Yeah.
for Dan's benefit. And if we think of something better before it's written in stone, we can do that.
Yeah.
But let's leave it the way it is. Yeah.
Okay, so can I just have a minute to write that down?
Well, no, I'll send it to you.
Oh, you sent it to me. Okay, good.
I'll send it to both of you.
Yeah, send it to us. Good.
I wrote some stuff down below here about features in the house and stuff, to tell different periods and so forth. And it got too wiki sticky, and then I came up with this other paragraph here about all the different uses, and that perhaps was enough to say that. And I might add that this paragraph here is filling out what we were just saying, June, in that other statement in the mission.
That's right.
It talks about all the ways it's connected in the past, and it continues in the 21st century as the local museum.
Yeah, I like that.
And
Do you want to put in the word tavern as a tavern, inn and store, or no?
yeah, we can put tavern.
Okay. Yeah, keep your other paragraph because we'll need it for something, probably the grant or something.
Well, and also they're
Well,
probably
we've got a lot of it's in the, I mean, that stuff's all in the preservation plan anyway. And
Yeah.
I was in going through the preservation plan, which I've done 2 or 3 times trying to do this. There are some things that need to be fixed in it anyway. So I think I'm going to work a little bit on some revisions in that and bring them back to you at another time.
Okay.
I think too that the master plan, I haven't seen what the master plan that he's going to use what it really looks like, the outline of it, but there probably are places in it where more of these details can be included besides in the mission and the vision.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the next thing, so I'll follow up by when Barry sends me a copy of what we've written out tonight. I'll just send off a message to Dan.
Okay.
That tells him we've done our best with the mission and vision statements, and just give us a couple of dates that would work for him, and we'll pick one and schedule a Zoom meeting with him when he's ready. Did I tell you, Barry, that his mother died?
His father.
His father, I'm sorry, his father died.
Oh,
And that was, and he needed to take some time for all of that away from work. And
does that
he ju-
happen since we met with him?
that, pieced it together, and that actually happened a few days after we met with him.
Okay,
So it was sort of mid-May that happened, and
yeah, okay.
and then when he got back to me, it must have been a couple weeks after that. So
You know,
he was just sort of saying, I'm taking a break, and I haven't forgotten my commitments.
right.
Yeah.
You know, I was just going to say we should pat ourselves on the back because we just accomplished something very, very difficult. I don't know
No.
I don't know how many times you've tried to write and wordsmith with a committee, but it can be a nightmare.
It is.
But this wasn't a nightmare. We did
Well,
okay.
Barry did a lot of extra work. And
Yes, you did, Barry. And
so he got us through.
Yeah, but I mean, yes, but the point is that the ideas have flowed through all of us back and forth.
yeah, yeah.
And it's just how can you incorporate them? I'm looking at the word "in" where I have the cursor right now in the mission statement. Could that
Yeah.
become "through"?
That would be better, because I hate to repeat
Mhm.
little prepositions. It just,
Yeah. I mean,
yes, that's good. That's
to a
better.
history museum in a historic setting.
I
Yeah.
was trying to come up with a word earlier tonight, and it just wasn't working out for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so we're done with that. So I will follow up with Dan. I guess.
I move to approve these two statements to
Oh.
give to Dan, and that doesn't mean we can't fuss with them still if we want to. but-
Okay, so that's a vote. All right.
Yeah.
So I'll second the motion if I can. And let's have a
I'll hold
vote.
it just in case.
Janet, let's vote.
Janet, aye.
Aye. Barry
Aye.
and June, aye. Okay. Okay, good.
Not forever frozen, but
Right.
For Dan's review.
yeah.
Okay. And I've already talked about our archival supply order, and that we would, we'll hope that Edie can be reimbursed as soon as the stuff is delivered.
I move to approve $600, the full $600 we have available for archival supplies currently under order.
Okay, you don't want to reserve anything for newspaper?
Well, we're at a point where we're, 3 weeks from the end of the month. And I think we might just as well not reserve anything right now.
Okay, to approve $600 for the archival order. Already placed.
Are you comfortable with that, Janet?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
You guys
Yeah.
know what to
Edie
do.
did a good job. She came to our 2:00 curatorial session last Wednesday, and she had her iPhone with her, and we agreed on what should be ordered,
Catalog.
and she actually placed the order right on the phone. So
That's
it was
good.
good. It was good. Got
Way
it
to
right
go.
over with. Yeah. So the next thing is
Uh,
demolition.
Let's
Go ahead.
second and vote. If we
Oh.
second and vote it, then we can just
Do it.
sign the thing through. As soon as it comes, we can run around and get our signatures and put it right through.
Okay. There's a bills payable form.
Yeah.
So Janet, you want a second, or you
Sure,
want
I'll
me to?
second it. Yeah,
Okay, all those in favor, Barry,
Aye.
Janet,
aye.
and June, aye. Okay, good. Demo delay, both Barry and I have had calls and emails about Marguerite Crackhart's house on West Street. There are some prospective buyers that want to preserve it and have asked questions. One of them just asked me a question about windows. And I made the suggestion that if they wanted, some encouragement from us or some suggestions from us, that they just give me a call and we'll include them in a meeting. There are also prospective buyers who want to tear it down and are asking about the demo delay bylaw. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. Will you check when you can, Barry, about with Leanne about anything else out there? I think we have to wait.
Yes,
We have to wait till Monday now to do
yes,
that.
and I have. Well, I can go in and check it. I can go in and look for stuff that's in there.
Oh, okay. She doesn't have to be there.
No, I can go in and look and see if there's anything in there. I'll try to do that tomorrow morning.
Okay.
I haven't looked there for a bit, but I did take quite a while and go through a whole bunch of stuff at one point. Learned all kinds of things about what's happening in town by doing that. Unbelievable number of building permits out. But at the same time, we have to take out building permits now for stuff that we wouldn't have had to some years ago. Every darn thing you want to do practically, you have to take out a permit for now. And so, which dissuades me from fixing anything in my house for fear I'd have to have them come into it. And then they might do things to me I don't like.
Wow. Well, hopefully
Anyway.
nothing will go wrong so that you'll have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
The next item is Karen Velasquez. Not quite sure how to pronounce her last name. I'm going to have to ask her.
I think that's right.
Barry and I met with her again this morning at the curatorial building, and Barry introduced her generally to the kinds of things that we have. And Barry took out a box and we worked on a little box enclosing photographs and talking about the people in them, and forget what else we did with the box. Anyway, we need to vote to take her on as a work-off employee. I think I've talked to both of you about my impression of her, but basically I think she'll do fine. She's very down to earth, and she has a real appreciation for preservation, and she's worked her whole life. She's methodical, and I think she'll work out just fine. She
was a history teacher in Marlborough, and but more recently, she left that for certain reasons, and then later on, when she wanted to rejoin the workforce, she got a job in the bank, and she was assistant treasurer at the bank. And so she had some management responsibilities as well as, other nitty gritty. And she managed the teller row and that kind of thing in the bank. I thought that was, it seems to me that she's got good enough background so she could take on tasks, and as she gets used to things and gets to know a little more, she could be quite competent to work for us.
Yeah. So hopefully you'll get to meet her one of these days, Janet.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Tentatively, So we need to vote first, to just confirm that we want her as a work-off employee.
I move to approve Karen Velasquez as a work-off employee, senior work-off employee.
Okay, a second
I second that.
for the Historical Commission.
Yes.
And I promised Peggy that, that we would vote and that I would be responsible for her monthly sheets that she has to turn in. Or I would sign off on them at least. Okay, did I vote? June, did we vote?
Now we have. Now
Okay,
we have.
now we have. Okay, so it is unanimous. Oh, boy. Okay, so I just need to follow up with Peggy Sardell. Peggy Janet is the person who manages the work-off operation, I think.
Yeah.
She does the paperwork for it anyway.
Yes, yeah, she's the one that manages it for the select board.
Yeah.
And she herself is a senior work-off employee doing it.
Yeah. Other business. Is there any other business? Janet, did you have?
Oh, you know what? I did want to ask something about the collections. Is this the time that we could?
Yeah,
use
you can
more?
ask anything now. We're on to
Okay.
other.
Yeah, that sort of ties in with what we were just talking about. I was zoning out here. Well, you know, I'm one of those people that likes to sort of have a loose timeline in the back of my mind at all times. And so I'm kind of thinking about like, well, when will we have to start working on the grant and so on and so forth. And I realized that the next half year, I mean, between now and the end of 2022, to me, looks like the time before we have to start with the grant, before we have to, you know, really start thinking about who's going to do what in terms of construction. Maybe this is the window of opportunity for us to deal as a group with the collection. Not that you haven't been doing that already, but maybe really put the pedal to the metal a little bit.
You mean in the Bullard House?
In the Bullard House, I was
Yeah.
thinking, because if we are going to start construction at some point in the future, we don't want at that time to be saying, oh my gosh, we got to clean out the Bullard House. It'd be nice if maybe we use the next half year to really focus on that particular task. And
Well, that's one of the reasons that we've took our last action. Is to
Yes.
get somebody else working.
right,
And her working will also get us working more
yeah,
because we'll work with her. And that's part of what we're after. Now today, I pulled a box off the shelf, but it's basically unsorted material from Florence Ann's house, which is stuff that we took out of the Bullard House. We saved one set of shelves in the new building to take stuff out of the old place. And most of what's on that set of shelves is either from Florence Ann's or Peggy Jones,
yeah,
because we had substantial amounts of stuff from both places. And there's a few other things, but most of that whole set of shelves, 6 feet long and 4 shelves high, is all stuff from there. And so that was actually what we were doing, was attacking that pile. Until we've dealt with some of that pile and arranged it and put it away, we can't bring more up from the Bullard House. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't things we can address and work on down in the Bullard House and be moving in the right direction too, but that's part of what we'll do. And I know that we'll spend some of the time we're working with her, as well as we've done in the past, working in the Bullard House. Jane Sawyer and I went down there one Wednesday afternoon and went through a bunch of newspapers and sorted some out to throw away and some to keep. And I need to go back and work with that pile that we're going to keep. And then we've still got more boxes of newspapers to deal with. And almost all of the newspapers we have left there are things that people save from events at one time or another. And we need to go through them, decide how much we need. In many cases, we can clip stuff and get rid of a lot of the volume.
Mhm.
But we have to work on those things in order to get the volume down and get it to the point where we've got, you know, a few file folders to take up back and instead of 3 boxes of newspapers.
Yeah.
So those are the kinds of things, that's part of what we hope to do with her, is to work on some of those things down there, as well as stuff that's up in the curatorial building already.
I was asking Barry today about, well, I was suggesting a way to get started in the room that has most of the donations piled up. And I said, couldn't we separate what's been numbered that is still there? At least separate it in a certain area away from the things that aren't numbered, but he said he doesn't think there's much left there that is numbered, that
Wow.
really, that wouldn't, attacking it that way wouldn't help that much, because we'd be searching frantically for the things that had numbers and wasting a lot of time. So
Now, almost everything that's numbered has been dealt with and is put away. And therefore is already someplace else in the curatorial building. There may be a few things that are numbered that are now in the fire station, but only some big things. Most of the stuff, other stuff is if it's numbered, most everything is in the curatorial building.
could we just for a minute or two think of a first step with donations to the collection that are still in the Bullard House? What would be a first step that we could take to organize those? Maybe not bring them back to the curatorial building or worry about that relocation, but just to organize them so that we know what's there. I mean,
Well,
Sort them, you mean, kind of sort them by the type of thing it is, or?
well, that would be one
Yeah.
strategy. I guess it's making a list of categories that are still there. If there's anything that really jumps out at us as being valuable, maybe we should.
So at some point, we need to talk about, and this would be a great benefit to me, we need to talk about the criteria that we use to decide, well, sort of to sort, but that would probably come a little bit later, what I'm talking about, if we're starting to decide which things to keep and which things not to keep. And then having a sort of set of rules or criteria that we would use to make those decisions would be very helpful to me, and probably to everybody, actually, to know that we're all kind of, you know, so that if you have 25 of something that you really only need 3 of, you know, that would be one of the criteria, that we don't need
Duplication.
huge amount of redundancy. Yeah. So I don't know.
I mean, that's one of the things,
when is that?
with the newspapers is that, you know, the tornado section out of the Worcester Telegram, we've got at least 4 or 5 of them that I know of.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep maybe 2
Yes.
that are in the best condition.
Mhm.
And some of the rest of them we're either going to throw out, or perhaps we'll take it to a society meeting and say, does anybody want one of these?
Yeah.
That doesn't have one. I mean, I know I've already got 1 or 2 in the house here, so I don't need another one. But somebody, I'm sure there's some people that might love to have them. And but there's
Those could
And the-
be part of our vintage sale.
Yeah.
oh yes, oh yeah.
Did you guys talk about that too, the vintage sale idea?
We
You and I
haven't-
talked about it last night. but
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if Barry has been in on that.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. So you know about the vintage
A
sale.
lot of that is stuff that we got for the yard sale years ago.
Yeah.
And some of the better stuff we've held on to because we still hope to sell it and get some money for it. But there are other things we can add to that too.
Yeah. So
And
what,
I have things from Ossipee and a bottle collection that I want to throw into the mix.
don't throw them though, please.
No, the bottles especially shouldn't be thrown.
Right. Don't throw them in.
They're
Gently
nothing
label them.
special.
Yeah.
I'm I just can't keep them, forever.
Well, how do we, I mean, I know you guys have been in there working on a regular basis and I haven't, but is there something that helps you or would help us to all participate in some kind of an organized way? So that we know
At the
which
Bullard
box
House,
to open
or
first, for example, and also, do we open all the boxes first or a whole bunch of them and then sort things and then decide what we need and what we don't need? And if we do that, what do we put the things on so they're
I
not
think
lying?
you have to be doing it on an ongoing basis.
Yeah.
All you do is end up handling things 3 times when you could handle them once if you put it off too long.
So how do
But
where do we do this sorting and how do we keep this stuff from just being on the floor and what criteria do you want us to sort it by? I mean, I don't expect you to answer that right now, but those would be my questions as a beginner with this that I would probably ask first.
well, I think
the
maybe
answer is you don't ask beginners to start to make that decision, but you do discuss it with them
Yeah.
and hear their ideas too in making decisions about it. Because, I mean, some of it also comes down to usefulness. Sometimes you have to just decide this, we got no darn use for it, even if we had it.
Mhm.
And we do have some categories that we have quite a sufficiency of, and some more too, like ladies' hats from the 1950s. We just happen to have, several hat boxes that people have given us with a bunch of little tiny hats, those things they had that weren't really hats, they were more decorations.
Mhm.
And at some point, we need to consider how much of that stuff we want to keep, because you don't need 50 of them.
Right, right.
And you need some that show that there were different colors, and you need some that are particularly nice designs.
Mhm.
But you got to decide that some of them you don't need, because it just is too much stuff and you'll never probably have time to use it,
Mhm.
or
Some
an
of the
exhibit to
drama
use it in.
clubs,
Yeah.
some of those costume things, the drama clubs in high schools and things like that might say, oh yeah, let's grab this little Jackie Kennedy pillbox hat, or let's,
Yeah.
so
also
to
I've been
really disposing of them
yeah,
is as big
yeah.
a job as sorting them and keeping
Yeah.
them, isn't it?
whatever
Yeah.
we can offload to this sale, if we can offer in our advertising the kinds of things that people would find there, we could get more traffic too if we advertise it,
Right.
better.
Well, that's a
That's
good
most-
thought. And one of the things that we should be doing, if we're talking about doing this, hopefully maybe in November,
Right, yeah.
then we've got time between now and then to work on pulling some more stuff out of the pile of stuff that might go in that sale or might be advertised as part of that sale somehow.
Yeah, this is really the time, because we know, except for maybe the threshold, we're not going to have to get everything out right now, because we don't have our master plan in place.
We don't want to have to get everything out at once anyway. We want to
Yeah.
get it out over time so we
Yeah,
can.
so that we can
deal
be
with it, right.
thoughtful about it and not feel like, not be.
But June, you've been in there, we've been in there, we've from time to time opened some boxes and taken some things and moved them, dealt with them and got them boxed up better and put in a list and so forth. We've been doing some of that right along as we can manage to. And we just have to be more intentional to keep at it.
Yeah, we can pick a day for the 3 of us if you want, and I'll post it as a site visit.
Yeah, let's do that.
We want to have a day that's not hot.
You got that right.
Right. Of course, we won't
Because
know what that is.
upstairs in the Bullet House in the summer is hot.
Yeah. I don't know what the weather is. Do you want me to just check the weather is this something you would want to do next week sometime, or is that too?
Let me excuse myself for a minute and go get my calendar.
Okay. And I'm thinking the morning is cooler than the afternoon. Let's see. You have a meeting next Wednesday morning,
We do.
Barry. You do.
I
A
do.
church, your church
Oh,
meeting?
yes, yes,
You
yes,
have a
yes.
church meeting next Wednesday morning.
That's right. We're the 15th. We have a meeting there.
Um, Friday morning would work for me if I can look at the weather report.
Yeah.
And
Most Fridays are all right.
and see if Janet has Friday.
All right, let's see. Well, this Friday, the 10th, I have a dentist appointment
Yeah,
at 12:30, but it's going to be fairly long one, so.
yeah. Well,
have
I
to
can't
let me know.
post this week anyway.
Oh, okay, well, that
Yeah,
works out
yeah.
then.
But how about the following Friday, which
Yeah.
would be the 17th?
Yep,
Is that open?
that is for me. And, you know, even if 2 out of the 3 of us can do some of these days, it's worth it. I mean, we don't all have to.
That's true.
The first one, it might be nice for us all to be there.
Yeah, just so that we have a baseline to work from.
Right. Right.
I'm going to look at the weather. Let's see, is that 10 days ahead? Yeah. Well, I'll wait till like Monday and see what the weather's going to be. And if it looks doable,
If it doesn't look like a 90-degree day, we can,
Right.
we can go to work in the morning. for it.
manage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that would be about 10 o'clock.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. No
Okay.
later. than 10.
10 a.m. June 17. Okay, post. Okay, I'm gonna wait. I don't know if you heard me, Janet. I'm gonna wait till Monday to see what the weather's gonna be
Yes, yes.
before I post that, and then I'll let you guys know.
Okay.
it's lots of stuff that is at least uncertain or somewhat uncertain as to whether we
Mhm.
want to keep permanently. And when people give me a whole pile of stuff, I'll take all of this, but I'd say I won't guarantee we'll keep all of this.
Right.
There are things that I know we'll want to keep, but there are other things that, you know, I until we've thought about it, I don't know the answer to that. And I hate to tell them too much about, no, we don't want this, no, we don't want that, because then they won't offer you anything else. And you never know when the next thing they offer you is going to be really important. So it's important to accept things, but at the same time, I've said right along that some of the things we probably will not keep permanently. We have to think about it.
Right.
And usually people, if a lot of people, oh, well, that's fine, you know,
Yeah.
that's fine.
What's your estimate, knowing all the stuff that's in there? And I mean, this is kind of a hard question, but as to how long it would take us to have that house ready to be worked in?
I don't know.
Like a year, 6 months?
I think that really depends on how much we work on it.
Yeah.
It's all based on that. We worked down there some before, when Elaine and Karen
Mhm.
Chandler were on. We went in and took a bunch of stuff and took it down to the town offices when we had the big room down there. And we worked on stuff there and sorted and went through it and boxed some of it up and put it away. And I mean, we have done that, and we were doing it every week for a little while, and then season changed and you have to do different. I mean, Elaine wasn't available in the summer because of the farm and
Right.
how they run their thing up there. But we did, you know, we made some progress. But the biggest thing is getting in there and doing it, and how
Right.
much we do that, but as to how fast it can. I mean, honestly and truly, keep in mind that June has taken a mountain home and stuck it in the corner of her cellar, which is the yard sale stuff.
Yeah.
But we've got the ballroom pretty well cleaned out. And
Well,
it had a lot of stuff in it before. It's still got some stuff in it, but nothing close to what it did.
yeah, it's mostly the
Nothing close.
it's mostly the timbers that are in the way.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I got news for you. They're staying.
In the ballroom.
Well, not in the ballroom, but in the house,
Yeah.
because
Well-
that's what they are. They're wood that we have taken out of the house someplace, and we discarded a lot, but we saved boards that were pretty good, because sometime when we need some old boards, we've got them.
Where is a good place? I mean, are those the ones you want to relocate in the attic or
Into the back attic, yeah.
into the back attic?
Mhm.
And
That was what we were gonna do in the back attic, was have that stuff in there
To have a floor or to just store?
to store.
Mhm, mhm,
No, we've got plywood in there to make a floor,
mhm.
and if that's in the back half of the house, I'll be able to do that. If it's not, I won't be able to, if the powers that are over us tell us what we can do.
Right,
But we can, yeah, I mean, the whole point was to have a place that we could store some of that lumber, and then we've got it when we need it. And some of it, for instance, if we decide to pull up the pile of floor and put the original underfloor back in there, and somebody can figure out how they're gonna take care of the wiggledy-diggledy problems of that floor, we can, we've got the boards that we took out of there, we can put them right back where they were. If that's what we have to do.
mhm.
And that's why we saved them, was so that if at some point it was necessary to reverse something we'd done, we have the materials to do it with.
That's good to know.
who could help us I mean, you need help. I don't guess I could hand things from one place to another, but
What, doing the boards, you mean?
yeah, if we get to the point where we can relocate those boards into the back attic.
The big thing we need is to get more of that insulating board, that 3.5 inch thick. It looks like styrofoam insulation board, because we need to put that down on top of what is now in effect the ceiling downstairs, and some 2x4s on their sides, so we can put the new plywood on top of that to get our floor down and have an insulation over the room downstairs, so that we're not heating the attic.
That sounds like a big job.
Well, it is a big job, but the big thing we have is that those things come in 4x8 sheets, and you can't put them in the car to bring them home.
Oh,
Is that a
small problem.
is that a job that we should add to our structural list?
That may be on Carl's list. I'm not sure. He talks about plywood floors. Is that what no, he's not talking
No.
about the attic.
No,
Yeah.
he,
He wanted to
That's a
tear them
different-
all out.
okay.
It did talk about using that method of insulating some things in that attic, yes, but I don't know how specific. But that was something that we had planned, Lee and I had planned years ago, and we just have never gotten it done. And of course, once things started with Carl, I wouldn't dare do anything there. It was just going to be a fight to do anything in any direction that wasn't what Tim told to do. I think we're now on a road
Are
to
we?
solving that problem, but
Yeah, I was thinking that we're getting ahead of where we need to be right now.
yeah, we are.
And I'm
I
glad
was
we
talking
are.
about the
Glad we are,
ballroom.
'cause
Yeah.
we need to kind of have a sense of where we're going. But would that be the type of information that we would, seek from an architect or a designer of some sort? Or is that because it's in the back part of the building? Is that one that we're not going to what are the 4 R's? We're going to rebuild it, in other words, as
Well,
opposed.
it sounds to me like a project that requires some major help.
Yeah.
And
And
I would think that we would want to confirm that that's a good use of the space. I mean,
Mhm.
I take Barry's word for it, but we do have to defend what we do. And perhaps there should be another opinion that to support it.
what we're going to be
But
doing,
this is, that the things in the ballroom are not what we're concerned with right now. I shouldn't have jumped to that probably.
Oh.
Let me just say something else about that matter. The comedy of that situation is we knew that once we closed up that ceiling downstairs, we wouldn't be able to get the sheets of plywood up there. So we went and bought the sheets of plywood and put them up there before we put that ceiling on. And now we can't get them out of there. We either got to use them there or we
You
got to
better
cut
use
them up
it,
to get
yeah.
them out.
We- who will be the person who will help us with those kinds of questions in the part of the building that we're not planning to preserve as is?
That's a
If we still plan to stick with that plan.
Well,
Uh,
that's a rehabilitation
Yeah,
category. And is that design? It's not architecture, it's design.
yeah,
design and
Yeah.
planning. And, this is the stuff that we use Lee Tabor for.
yeah.
Where we
'cause
developed it as, not as a professional architect, but as members of the commission.
Yeah,
And, we miss him greatly for that.
He might help us for individual tasks.
Yes, and he might advise us on an issue of that
Mhm.
sort as to whether this was appropriate. But he and I had dreamed up the plan there for that before, so. I don't know.
Well, and at some point, we're going to have to, I don't know who gets to make this formal decision, but I mean, there's never really been a formal vote or decision on the interpretation. I think we want to wait till we spend more time with Dan. But at some point, I would think we'd have to have some sort of a formal vote on the how we plan to interpret the house, and thus how we will be restoring, reconstructing, preserving, all of those things. Which of those will apply to which parts of the house?
Yeah.
And I don't know when we finally say we're ready to, make that a voted upon decision, that's how we want to interpret it.
To a certain extent, we did when we approved the preservation plan.
Uh-huh.
And we've had two different iterations of preservation plan, the most recent one being 2016. And as I say, it really would be good to revise it again now, at least some of the details in it. And that includes in it the idea that there's a wall down the middle of the house, that the front of the house is preservation and the back of the house is rehab. So we would perhaps change the words a little bit to fit that that description and so forth. But when we deal with that, and I hope we'll do that this summer, that's something I see as an important thing to do, is and probably all of us should read it and make annotations in it of things that we think need changing or need explaining or need, more, because that thing in effect does deal with the very issues you're talking about.
And I mean, I'd love to talk to Dan about this, and because even what we're choosing to save in terms of a box of children's clothing, or even those decisions about which artifacts or which objects that have been donated we want to save and which ones we don't, at least save them for our purposes. We have to know how we're interpreting the house to know what's going to be in our exhibits and what we need to save and don't. So it seems like that's a commitment that I think in our informal way, we've all kind of agreed on a plan for that, but to make it more formalized so that we can.
Well, we can't judge all of our collection by how it fits into the interpretation of the house, though, because the house is
just one part of it.
Is just one part of it. So
And we also have to remember that we're also collecting for the future. And future members of the commission and future custodial committees and offices of the society may have different interests than we do. And if it's appropriate to save as something from the past of the town of Berlin, maybe they're going to want to use it even if we might not.
Yeah.
Well,
And the other thing is, because of the vintage of the house expanding the last, how many, 300 years or something, chances are if we use that as criteria, it's not going to help us at all. You know what I mean?
well,
Oh, yeah.
you have to have some good instincts. You can't quantify everything.
Yeah, you
so,
can't. That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Good point.
Well, and again, as we've said before, the business of the people that restore a house to a certain period and all that, well, that's one approach you can take, but that's not going to tell the people the history of the town of Berlin.
Right.
So therefore, it's very important that we, open things up in a way that we can do things from the 20th century or even the 21st century as time goes on,
Yeah.
as well as things from way back in the past. And so the collection has to include all of that possibility. I mean, artists working in the town. Artists are working in the town now.
Right.
And at some point, some of that art needs to find its way into the collection.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean it's going to come in the day it's created, but it might come in, some of it might come in rather sooner than later.
Yeah.
No,
It would be fun to have an art show with contemporary artists and then show our own artwork from the past that's in the collection. That would be, well, that's a big order. I guess we're not up to that right now.
It'd be fun to do that with.
We've done it. We've done it
Yeah.
before.
Mhm.
When Beasy was president, we did one of the concerts with the youth orchestra in Lancaster, South Lancaster. And we did that upstairs in the meeting house, and downstairs in the big room, we had an exhibit of current local artists
In Central Hall.
in Central Hall. And then we had refreshments in the other room. And, it was a huge bunch of stuff. And there was all kinds of interesting things that came in and about people that we didn't even know about that were working in the town doing art. And it was fascinating stuff and very, very broad, different kinds of crafts and so on. And then for the bicentennial of the United States in 1976, we did an art show upstairs in the town hall. And we had all kinds of stuff, again, some current and some historic, all kinds of art from the, over the history of Berlin and different artists and their work. And it was, again, very broad in terms of the kinds of things there. And there were some things that were much more craft oriented, some Afghans and embroidery and some of that, other things of that sort that were included. So we've done this kind of thing before, and I fully anticipate we'll do it again in the future at some point when we've got folks that are interested in doing it. A lot of that depends on the membership and the leadership in the society. And one of the good things about having a number of new members right now is you never know what we're going to pick up for people and what their ideas might be.
That sounds good.
Okay, so I'll follow up on the 17th and let you know, and
Okay.
Barry's gonna follow up on any demolition, any building permits that
Yeah.
might impact our decision-making. And then I'll follow up with Peggy and Karen for the work-off. And we need to, are you able to come on Saturday to the Historical Society's annual meeting?
Me,
Janet?
Janet? Yeah, yes, I've got it in my book. That's right.
Oh,
Okay.
good.
Wait a minute. Yes, yes, the 13th. Absolutely. I've got it in.
It's the 11th.
Oh, yeah. The 11th.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. What am I talking about? Why did I get the 13th?
Well, it's
You know
3
what?
o'clock
This is one of
maybe.
those calendars that starts with Monday,
Oh.
and it gets me so mixed up. I even with, yeah. Okay, yes, I am planning to come on the 11th.
Well,
There
I'll
you go.
bring
2 o'clock. I think.
maybe I'll ask Edie to that would be an opportunity for all 3 of us to sign a bill payable for the archival supplies. If not, we can do it on the 17th. By then she should have her delivery. Okay. And I need to get back to Dan too. So Barry, if you'll send, when you get a chance, if you'll send me what we've written tonight, that'll
Yep.
work. Okay. Okay, so we need a motion to adjourn, I guess.
I move.
So moved.
Okay, and Janet seconded.
I'll second it then, yeah.
So we,
8:47.
so we need to vote, Barry
Aye.
and Janet
Aye.
and June, I. So we're adjourning at 8:47.